Hey, this is Matt McLean, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to get started on the final project using Reaper. And in this project what you're going to be doing is replacing all of the audio for a scene from a movie or a movie trailer. And the scene needs to be roughly 2 minutes and 30 seconds long. So you're going to be replacing all of the dialogue, all the voiceover. You're going to be doing all the Foley, the sound effects, as well as the music. So hopefully you already have your scene selected and approved by me. If not, definitely run it by me as soon as possible. But your scene needs to be a good mix of dialogue and some sort of action and some opportunities to put some music in. Hopefully you've thought about some of the sounds that you might be using. And what I have done here before I even begin is I've created a project folder. So you can see over on the right hand side I have McLean Final Project. And if we open this, I have a number of items already in here. So I have folders for my audio samples. These are things that I've gotten from freesound.org or collected myself. Just basic Foley sounds, some sound effects. I'm actually going to be doing a scene from the first Star Wars movie where Obi-Wan gets the lightsaber out. So I was messing around with some lightsaber sounds. You can actually see in here. So I was using some bowed cymbals and cello sounds to try to get some resonance. But there's also some Foley in here, some background sounds like wind and some cloth moves for Foley. And so I have also renamed all these files. If you download things from freesound.org, a lot of times they'll have these really long number codes in the name, and I've just called them things that are easy for me to classify and remember what I'm using them for. So I have a Reaper file project in here that I was already messing around with. I'm actually just going to put this in my test projects. So the next thing down here is my music folder, and I have some music cues that I've gotten. These are from museopen.org. These are free clips that are royalty free and also open source, so I don't need to give credit. I can just use them for whatever I want. Make sure that if you're putting stuff up on YouTube that you definitely have the creative license to do that. And let's see, my next folder here is test projects. I have a number of sandbox projects where I want to get in and just play with things and not make a mess of my actual project. So when I was playing around with lightsaber sounds, I was doing a bunch of automation, and I didn't really want to just I didn't want to have all sorts of crazy automation and effects cluttering my other projects. So that's what's in there. And then my video track. This is where I have my actual video that I'm going to be replacing the audio for. And then I have a voiceover folder here too. And this is where I'm going to be recording my voiceover sounds. So let's get started in Reaper. And I want to show you a few things that you want to set up before you really do anything. Before you even drop your video in there, make sure you turn your snap to grid off. This will allow you to slide sounds around in time continuously, as opposed to snapping to these hash marks here. And then the other thing is I'm actually going to pull up my mixer, and I did that with a key command. If you want to view different things, like if you want to view the master track or your video track, this is where you can see the key commands or pull it up here. The mixer, and on a Mac it's Command M. I use this all the time where I hide the mixer because sometimes you want to see more tracks. Sometimes you want to be mixing. So I pulled up my mixer here, and on my master track, this is something I showed you in a previous assignment. I'm actually going to use the Kakos, the real compressor first, and I'm going to add this, and I'm going to set it to the master bus glue setting. And I'm just going to leave it here. Notice this is really subtle compression, 1.531 to 1. This is just a blanket light compression over the entire mix to make everything sort of sit together nicely. And then I'm going to add the JS master limiter, which is a really good peak limiter. This is going to keep my outputs from clipping. And let's see, I'm going to add this one. And I'm going to go with the default, -3 dB. So it doesn't do anything except for the sounds that approach the digital threshold of -0 dB. You might want to audition your mix with and without these things to make sure that they aren't doing too much strange stuff to your mix once you get all the sounds in there. I'm just going to leave them on for now so I don't forget. Okay, so now I'm about ready to drop my video project in here. So I go back over here. And the reason why I like to keep these already organized is just in case, organized in subfolders, is when I save my project, I want to make sure that things are not getting left in other places on my computer when I upload it or transfer it to another person, or when you upload it to me for grading. So I'm going to go into my video subfolder and drop my scene in. And notice I didn't drop it right in the beginning. I do want to slide it right over there. If you have your snap to grid on, notice that you can only move it in preordained chunks. I'm actually going to use the snap to grid to align this right up to the 0 point and then turn that off. And you can see it's just an audio file. I'm going to open this up so you can see it. It's a stereo track. If you want to see your video, you can go to View and go to View Video. And this float window can be resized. Whoop, make it bigger. I don't want it to be too big right now because I need to see other things. Let's leave it right about here. And let's just hit play and make sure that it works.
No, my father didn't fight in the wars. He was a navigator on a spice freighter.
Okay, cool. So now what you're going to be doing is replacing everything. So the way to do that is not to mute the track, because watch this. When I hit mute, my video will go away. Woot! So that's not good. What you have to do is use your track slider. You might have a knob set up here for your volume. In my Getting Started in Reaper tutorial, I show you how to set this up. I like sliders for volume and knobs for pan. It's a weird thing. So anyway, you turn this down to -infinity, and if you hit play, total silence, and you're ready to start throwing sounds in there. So for the first draft of the project, what you're going to need to do is replace one of the elements, either voiceover or the Foley and effects or the music. And if you're in a time crunch just getting started here, probably the easiest thing to do is the music. Depending on your scene, some scenes might only need one piece continuously through them. Some scenes only have a little bit of music. Some scenes might have 5 or 6 clips. I actually have, I don't know, 4 maybe here. And I'm going to start with this cool theme, Fantasia on a Theme by Thomas Tallis. This was written by Ralph Vaughan Williams about 100 years ago. And the theme, the Thomas Tallis theme, is centuries old. So I was kind of going with the Jedi thing, because the scene has Obi-Wan in it. And so Tallis was, I think this one was composed like 500 years ago. And now I'm actually going to resize the music because you notice that it has a bunch of empty space in the beginning. If I hit play, you can hear people in the auditorium walking around, which is actually kind of cool because it fleshes my scene out. Every recording is going to be a little different. And again, I got this one from Muse Open. Oops. And the free version, you can download 5 songs a day. If you want the paid version with expanded options, it's like $55 a year. If you're doing a lot of video projects for money, I would definitely recommend that. But for this class, just use the free version. And then, let's see, I'm going to use this little fade in just to trim that a little bit. And let's go back to our video window and see how that works. All right, that was kind of cool. I like how it goes silent when they do that close-up of Luke. So I think I set that in just about the right spot. So that's when I think Luke says, "You fought in the Clone Wars?" I'll replace that line. And then, let's see, I'm using the squeeze button on my Mac trackpad. You can, on your mouse, you can use the wheel to zoom in and out. And then I just rolled back from the lower right-hand window to make this the same length. You can, if you had a shorter music clip and you wanted to loop it, you can drag it from the middle of the clip and then, wait a second. Hey, hold on. You actually have to copy it So you can copy this and then put this here, whoop, and then whoop, whoop. So you can actually create kind of a loop if you wanted to. I'm going to undo that. Let's pull this back out. I'm going to use that whole clip, at least for now. But theoretically, you're done with draft 1 if you had a really simple scene and music selection. And let me just show you how to export really quick. So you go here, and then you're going to have to, actually before you do anything else, what you need to do is a save project as. And I'm going to actually save this one right on at the highest level. I'm going to call this McLean Final Project Draft 1. I'm going to call it 1A. Next one will be 1B, just for this session. And then make sure you have the copy all media into the project. I haven't put anything new in here, so nothing will change. But just in case you do drop a sample in when you're, I know how Creative Flow works, and you're moving really quickly and you start throwing samples in. Yeah, it's okay, but just make sure you copy the stuff into your project. And then I'm going to hit save. And then let's go ahead and render. Actually, not going to let you sit through the render because it might take 20 minutes. Make sure that your format is set to video. So either this selection, the FFmpeg or libav encoder, or the mpeg4.move. This is for Mac OS. The video one here, if you're on a Windows PC, might be the option. Actually, I'm going to click on this one here, and there's several sub options for PC users. So I'll take a web movie or a QuickTime movie MP4. Any of those settings will be fine. So you can actually resize it. You might not want to. This isn't super big. Well, I'm not sure. Some of these video folders, or video files, and the folders can be gigantic. So you can use Handbrake to downsize them after you export if you're having some upload trouble. But some of these projects can be like a gig. And I'm just going to cancel. I'm going to spare you the time for the render there. But that's basically how you render the video. And let me show you how to do the next steps. So let's just say I'm going with that one music track, and I'm going to make this smaller. And actually, I don't need this giant original track to be taking up all my room here. Let's say I wanted to do some room ambiance. So I'm going to create a track here, and here's the key command. Is Command T. I'm going to use this in just a second. And I'm going to actually create a folder, and I'm going to call this room tone. Oops. And the reason why this is going to be a folder is because I'm going to put some other tracks in here. I'm going to create 2. Remember my little folder icon over here on the left now? So I put these little sub tracks in here, and I'm going to drop in some, I think I'm going to use some wind, and there's some electronic whirring in the background in Obi-Wan's house there. So the reason why I'm going to do this is I'm going to create sort of a basic blend of sounds, and then I can automate them all together by putting some automation using the trim control if I want to do some volume automation on all 3 combined. So then you don't have to paint individual track volumes and pans for each subtrack. Anyway, it's just a time-saving device. I'm actually going to, let's turn that off for now and put the sounds in. So I'm going to go back over to my folder, and in audio samples, let's see, I think I had some sort of static electric ambience. I'm going to drop that in there. And here, this is how you loop it. So this one, when it gets to the end of the file, you can just pull it out, and it's going to repeat it over and over again throughout the whole scene. I'm going to mute my music here because I just want to get a basic mix of the room tone. Woo! That's a little loud. I'm going to turn this way down. Lots of boops and beeps. Sounds cool. And then maybe some room silence. it's not real silence. There's never total silence. This can be really helpful just to make spaces sound a little more realistic. If you're in an office or any sort of interior space, usually has some sort of reverberating sound. Let's listen to that. So it's basically just some hiss there. I'm actually going to create one more track, and because they're out in the desert here, I want kind of a low frequency wind sound as well. Whoops, and go back to my track, and then I'm going to pull this one. Okay, so I'm going to turn that one up a little bit, and then just bring my hiss in. Just enough, right there. So I have 3 different settings here, and then now the beauty is I can control the volume of all these together with my slider or automation. So I put the music back in, pull my video up. Okay, that's actually a pretty good place to start. I'm going to drop in some Foley now. So let's make these guys smaller. I've set those volumes. Actually, I don't even need to see. Let's go and make them nice and small. And notice if I named my files in advance, then the track becomes that name. Whoops. Let's make sure they at least start at the beginning of the scene here. And so there's room tone. Now I'm going to create a new track. And this one, I need to use this to bump it out. So now this is going to be its own folder, and I'm going to call this Foley. And then let's see, maybe what are some of the other sounds in there? There's definitely some cloth moves, moving clothing. There are some boop, and then there's some footsteps, and then he walks over and opens the chest with the lightsaber. So I'm gonna put these on subtracks too. Let's see, where are okay, there's some subtle cloth moves. I'm gonna put these in here, and there's some footsteps right here. And I'm just getting them in here. Oh, and then let's scroll down, and I'm going to create one more track. And there's a creaking chest, like a wooden object. So I'm just dropping them in. Oops. Dropped the wrong thing in. It's okay. Okay. It wasn't an audio file. You had to actually drop the wave in. Okay. So I just dropped them in randomly, and then notice with my snap to grid off, I can put them wherever I want. And then my mixer is getting in my way. Let's get rid of that mixer. Now I have a whole bunch more space to work. And let's float our video. This is where you have to start aligning things. Okay, well, those are out of time. So I'm going to scan over here. This is where he gets up. Right here. So this is where his cloth moves are going to go, and I'm going to loop this over, and then the footsteps start right there. You can actually see him move his foot. Let's see, let's move it over again, right there. And then I'll probably have to shorten this because he stops walking. And I'm going to put a fade on it, whoop, and then a fade on it here. That's a little bit too much. And let's see what happens. Whoops, got to move it later in time. All right. Needs to go back over here. Foot. My squeak is in the wrong spot. There we go. So my steps are out of time. I'm just massaging it into the right place here. Whoop. And then his cloth moves. I think I need more cloth moves. I'm going to turn these up. There's way too many footsteps. Ooh, the lightsaber. That's a fun one. So let's put these down. Oops, not there. He stops walking about there. Or back. All right, so that's headed in the right direction. And then, of course, there is the voiceover too. So let me just show you how to do that really quick. So now I really have two elements in here. I got some Foley, I've got some music, and let's see. Let's do maybe Luke's line where he says, "You fought in the Clone Wars?" Let's turn this up.
You fought in the Clone Wars?
Okay, so I need to replace that line. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to mute the music because that's bugging me right now.
Here and not gotten involved. You didn't hold with your father's ideals, soldier. You didn't hold with your father's
Spice freighter.
didn't hold with your ideals involved.
It's right here.
You fought in the...
So I'm going to put my marker here, and I have to perform this in. So I'm going to create a new track. I need to name it. This is going to be Luke voiceover. And you need to arm the track first, turn this on, and then I'm going to pull my mixer up because I need my play controls, and then you hit record here. So the best way to do these lines is do them really one by one. If you write them down, that might make it easier, or you have to memorize them. Great voiceover actors are often actors and actresses because they're good at memorizing and delivering lines. So I personally kind of suck at it. I'm going to have to listen to this one more time.
You fought in the Clone Wars?
You fought in the Clone Wars? So let's see what happens.
You fought in the Clone Wars?
Let's go back. And you fought in the Clone Wars? And then if you double click on your file, make sure you put it, I'm going to put it into the voiceover here. And I'm going to put it in Luke's voice, and I'm going to hit save. And save all. And then I'm going to trim this down and put a little fade at the beginning just to make it nice and clean.
You fought in the Clone Wars?
And let's see how that syncs up. So I'm going to turn my original Star Wars down, pull up the video, and check it out. You fought in the Clone Wars? And you can hear me laugh. Whoops. Well, you can just zip that back. And notice that I stalled at the beginning of this, where I'm like, you fought in the Clone Wars? It doesn't quite sync up. You might do some massaging even after you record it in terms of time. Just move it around a little bit. You fought in the Clone Wars? Need to move it back a little bit. But I'm going to show you one more cool trick. Two more cool tricks, actually. Before you do anything, on the voiceover track, you should probably have a compressor as a general rule. So I'm going to go with my recomp. I'm going to put this ratio at like, I don't know, 3:1 and pull my threshold down here, like -20. But if you want to do some, like, I want to use Audacity to like speed up that stall. You can, on a Mac, I did this in one of the, I think it was assignment 7. You can hold down Option and double click it, and you can actually clean up the voiceover. So you can use the cool tools that I need to put this to built-in output. You fought. I'm going to speed that up and use effect and do change tempo. Speed it up a bunch. Yeah, there we go. Let's see what happens. You fought in the Clone Wars? So I can go there and export this as a WAV file and then drop it back into the project. Well, let me show you how to do that now. Export as a WAV, and I'm going to put this in my project, voiceover, and this is clean. And put it in my Luke voice, 24-bit WAV. Yep. And close this. I'm not going to save that. I'm actually going to delete that file there. Go in here and drop in my cool Luke Clean from VoiceOver. Luke Voice, the Luke Clean wave. I'm going to drop it right here. Pull up my video. You fought in the Clone Wars? So anyway, it's headed in the right direction. It would have been better off just recutting it. It's a whole time is money thing. Sometimes it's better to fix things editing, and sometimes it's better just to re-record. So you can see my project is starting to get pretty complicated over here on the left. Again, you can always hide the mixer, so you can move things around here. And yeah, now I've got 3 elements in there. Obviously, for each draft, you have to complete each of the elements. And by the 3rd session, you should have all 3 completed. And really, off to the races. Go have some fun. Don't forget to do a save project as at the end of your session, and then I'm going to call this one 1B. Make sure your copy all media is in there, and hit save. Boop. And then make sure that your voiceover takes are in there. Make sure that your project versions are in here, and that's pretty clean and ready to go. Oh, also make sure you have an export for each draft, especially for the final project, an exported movie. Okay, there you go, and happy editing.